I feel your goodness on the mountain. I feel your love down in the valley, and your grace, it still surrounds me. God, you've been good to me. You've been good to me. In my soul sings. Yes, my soul, it sings with all my heart. I love you, Lord. You're my first love. You're my reward. And through the years, you've been good to me. So good to me. So good to me. I have breath inside my body, and I have life inside my bones, and I cannot help but praise you. God, you've been good to me. Yes, you've been good to me. In my soul sing. Yes, my soul, it sings with all my heart. I love you, Lord. You're my first love. You're my reward. And through the years, you've been good to me. So good to me. So good to me. So good to me. And dancing on the rising sun to the hopeful future and the dreams to come. And those seasons change. No, I won't give up, for you never fail. No, not once. And I'm dancing on the rising sun to the hopeful future and the dreams to come. And the seasons change. No, I won't give up, you never fail. No, not once. And my soul sings. Oh, my soul, it sings. Yes, my soul sings. Oh, my soul sings with all my heart. I love you, Lord. You're my first love. You're my reward. And through the years, good to me. So good to me. So good to me. So good to me, so good to me, Father. You never fail me, Lord. You never fail me, Lord.
Hi, I'm Gwen Adams, and this is another Refuge City in the Meantime sermonette, really. We're putting them into lots of little pieces for you. And I want to continue talking about the kingdom of heaven as it invades our kingdom here in the worst of times. I want to share with you a story about one of my favorite hymns, I Come to the Garden Alone. And in this hymn, just the beautiful lyrics about spending time with Jesus alone in the garden. And I want to give you the story behind the man who wrote it. His name is Pastor Chen, and he was in China during the time in 1968 where you would get arrested for preaching and sharing your faith. And as the pastor, he got thrown in prison. This was the third time he got thrown in prison, and he'd been there for quite a long time and just full of despair, wasn't getting let out. They told him over and over again, we're going to let you out if you would just denounce your faith. He wouldn't do it. And after a couple of years of being in prison, finally getting past the despair of it, he really felt like God called him to that place as a mission field. So he began to just share his faith with anyone who would listen in the prison. And he was responsible for leading not only fellow prisoners to the Lord, but the guards as well. And so in order to silence him up, they put him in solitary confinement. And it was during his time in solitary confinement where he actually does share his faith with the guards and leads a couple of them to the Lord. And the prison officials are so upset, they beat him severely and couldn't even keep him quiet in solitary confinement. And when they finally made it where no one could visit him, so he would have no one to share with, he began singing and letting his voice reverberate off the prison walls to anyone who may hear through his singing voice. And so they finally came and put an order of complete silence on him. And full of despair, they finally do the worst punishment they could possibly do to him. This was a prison camp of 60,000 prisoners, and the cesspool that was a little bit away from the camp was filling to overflowing. So basically, all of the human waste would flow in trenches out across the field to the cesspool. And in that cesspool, it was beginning to overflow onto the ground, so they needed it to be emptied. So this was a job that they gave to Pastor Chen. And they gave him some buckets, and they said, bucket by bucket, we want you to fill up the bucket, and we're going to wake you up first thing in the morning. You're going to be doing this all day, and you haul it over and dump it into this levee where we're building another cesspool. And the people who had gone before him and had this job died in short order from disease. So it was a death sentence. It was a way of killing him. Well, he went out there, and the stench was so great that there was no way any guards or anybody would come around him. The bugs were absolutely prolific. And so as he got out there, he tried to get down on his knees and bend over into the cesspool and scoop a bucket out, and he couldn't quite reach. So he had to climb down into the cesspool with his bucket, scoop it out, and climb back out and walk it across the field to this new cesspool. All of a sudden, on day number 2, he went back covered in human feces, went back the first day. None of the other prison guards, anybody would even want to be around him, even on his way back. And so he was just feeling so alone and despaired. And then on day number 2, when he was out in the cesspool, he discovered something. He was truly alone. He could begin to raise his voice in song once again. And he began to speak and talk to the Father and sing at the top of his lungs. And all of a sudden, he began to go in at night, and like his heart would just like grieve on the march back to the prison until the next day when he got to come out to this place of freedom for him. And as he sang, he began to notice that the cesspool began to change around him. It began to become a place of fragrant beauty as he spent time with the Lord there. This is the song that Pastor Chen penned in that place. I come to the garden alone, while the dew is still on the roses. And the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. He speaks, and the sound of his voice is so sweet that the birds hush their singing. And the melody that he gave to me within my heart is ringing. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. I'd stay in the garden with him, though the night around me is falling, but he bids me go through the voice of woe. His voice to me is calling. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. Pastor Chen was eventually released from prison and went back to his church, which had exploded in growth as the people began to tell stories of how God had continually put him on their heart to pray for him. And he began to tell the story of what happened at the cesspool. He said the fragrance that rose up off of the beautiful crystal clear water of the cesspool was the most beautiful, fragrant, beautiful view he had ever known. That God himself came and changed that for him. The kingdom of heaven in Pastor Chen's life invaded that dark arena and sustained him. There is a power and authority that's out of this world available to each of us. No matter what life throws our way, kingdom come. Your kingdom come. Your will be done in the middle of what looks like hopelessness. But if God can turn a cesspool in China into a garden, he can handle this too. Thank you.
I come to the garden alone while the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses, and he walks with me and he talks with me. He tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. He speaks, and the sound of his voice is so sweet. The birds hush their singing, and the melody that he gave to me within my heart is ringing. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. And I'd stay in the garden with him, though the night around me may fall. He bids me go through through the voice of woe. His voice to me is cold, and he walks with me and he talks with me. He tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has it.